We're both wearing pearls. Look, we're live and we're
Oh
both
my
wearing
goodness.
pearls.
Oh my goodness, it's a sign. And look at all
It
the
must be.
pretty things flying around our heads right there.
I
Gold,
know. That's
bling.
how I feel like I wake up, just having money on wings flying around me.
I'll have that. I'll definitely have more of that.
Well, the funny thing is, what if we do? You
Yes.
know, what if we do and we just so conceptualize money that it has to show up in a certain way rather than actually having money show up everywhere and from
Yeah.
every possibility, like beyond what you can imagine.
Yes.
So why are we here, Miss Megan?
Well, I think we're done. Isn't that
Yeah,
good?
that's it. Goodbye, everybody. This, ladies and gentlemen, this book was written quite some time ago by Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and Dr. Dane Here, the co-creator. And
You even have like an original copy. That might be the original. Like it has
oh,
even a new
really?
cover now. Yeah,
Really?
that's amazing.
See, there you go. This is what we're doing. We're having an auction. You can buy this original copy. No, you can't. It's mine. Yeah. So anyway, we're talking about right riches, and I mean, let's be honest. And this is actually part of right riches too. If you can be willing to have a look at even what your agenda is with everything that you choose, because I have a right riches for you class coming up. You can go check it out on SimoneMilasas.com/right riches. It's on the Access Consciousness website. It starts on my, what do we establish? 6th of April and the 5th of April in the US. It's an hour and a half each day for 5 days, right? It's Right Riches Beginners class. And I asked Megan if she would do a live with me based on, she's the one that if you buy this in Audible, she's the one who did the Audible, and I will never forget when she did it and her whole world basically changed. You thought you were just going to go read a book.
I did, and I was like, yeah, I can find three. I had to do 3 days back to back in a recording studio, and I was like, between Christmas and New Year's is a great time because there's nothing going on. But that means I had my kiddo because he didn't have school, and we went down to this like really interesting place to record, like a rap studio in downtown Denver, where I think all night they recorded hip hop music, and the next day I'm there recording this
Right,
book.
it's just for you.
Yes. Yes. And it was so interesting. Before we got on, we were chatting a bit about people's like almost like unwillingness to desire this information. And I remember sitting there and there's this guy, I was with him for 3 days. And I'm literally, if you record something, you have to say it succinctly. If you mess up anything, you have to re-record it. So there were times that I'd have to re-record several things or whatever. So word for word, I'm reading it, he's reading it, we're going through the whole thing. All I could think of was this guy, like his world must be melting. Like how cool to have me show up in the studio. He didn't care. Like it just went phew right over his head. And I walked
That's
out of there and I was like, wow, like gold is sitting here for him and he's just not interested. And it was really interesting because then I had to look at how different I was to actually desire wealth, riches, something different, and a different way of getting there, actually.
I think that's the piece that I would like to talk about today. I mean, there's many
Oh,
stuff with this book, but also the difference that you need to be and choosing wealth. Because I've been looking at this class because this is the first Right Riches Beginners class that I've facilitated. I attended one, or I had one, listen to it later, that David Kubis and Shannon O'Hara did, and it was friggin' amazing. It was so good. And it was very David and very Shannon, right? And how they have created wealth and how they look at it, etc. So I've been asking questions because obviously, like for years facilitating, I think nearly every facilitator goes through that thing of going, oh, this is the way Gary does it. This is the way Dane does it. So I have to do some version of that rather than, well, what is this for me? Like, how do I facilitate this? And not how, like as in working it out. It's like I've been asking, what is the energy required with this class? And because I facilitated a lot of money classes, like the second book I ever wrote was Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. And I have facilitated so many people on money, like private sessions, classes, and a lot of people have changed their financial wealth. And it's very, getting over a point of view, and I guess pragmatic in a way, like some of the tools that we talk about. And then Right Riches for You. I mean, even the name of it, I'm like, because it's like Right Riches for you, Megan. Right Riches for, John Smith. Right Riches for Simone Milasas. And like not going, okay, so this is how Shannon sees it. This is how David sees it. Friggin' brilliant. Like highly, highly, highly recommend going to one of their classes, or even buying the one that is in, I don't know if it's on the Access Shop. I'm about to say that, but I don't know if it is. It's
It'll be
somewhere. I'm sure you
there
can find it. That's if you can find it, you can buy it.
Exactly.
And then I have this class coming up, and I have, like, my life, I've created so many different things. I've been in poverty, I've been in debt. I function from lack and scarcity. I function from hating money, disdaining it, like, trying to live that, like, I don't need it. I can prove to the world I don't need money, and this. I've done all of that, from then flying, struggling to fly economy, then flying business class and feeling like a fraud, and then flying first class, and then even hiring private jets now, and, doing it all. It's like I feel like I've been there, done that with a lot of wealth creation. And I've been looking at this going, what is Right Riches for You? And there is a section here on page 42. And this is the part that I just wanted to talk about for a second, is the 4 elements of generating wealth. And it says there are 4 elements of generating wealth: being willing to have money. So as I talk about this, have a look for you, what if this actually, like, are you willing to have a look at this? It's like, number 1, be willing to have money. Are you willing to have money? Number 2, generate money. Don't try to create it. And that's a whole topic in itself. I love that. Number 3, educate yourself about money and finance. And number 4, develop a generosity of spirit. And I'm just going to read this little part out here, because it says, to truly have consciousness with money and generate wealth, you have to be willing to have money. You have to be able to generate money. You have to educate yourself about money, and you have to incorporate a generosity of spirit into your life. These 4 things will make it possible for you to have the wealth you would like to have. We talk about each of these elements in the pages following, blah, 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 and offer lots of questions and tools, which is, they do. And these are really different concepts. And Megan, I'm wondering if you can talk about, just before we went live, you were mentioning about when you read this and like the educating yourself part and what you actually looked at.
Yeah. So I was, those 4 things I looked at today as well before we came on. And it was so interesting because I had a flashback of that. If I look at those 4 things, like 1, 2, and 4, I have going on. And then number 3, which is to educate yourself. There's a huge chunk of the book, which is a lot of information of stories of education, of banks, and like all this sort of financial stuff. And I remember when I was recording it, just wanting to check out or like read it really, I had to slow down because I just wanted to read it really fast and get through it. And that's been my whole life, is kind of checking out when it comes to educating myself on the stuff that I actually need to educate myself on. Like, I'm still not there. I've gotten better, but it's basically like this much of what is possible, because I go into this presumptive reality that I don't understand it, that I'll never understand it, that I'd have to like go to college for 8,000 years to even get it,
So I mean, Megan and I have not planned this. This is going to be like a mini class, I think, because I'd like to explore this piece, because this is what I've been looking at a lot. I mean, I've currently got a Getting Out of Debt Joyfully 10-week program. We're on like week 8, and it's so cool to see on week 8 how people are breaking down and having a look, not breaking down, like breaking their barriers down, and then looking at what energies they're not willing to receive, etc. So when you said you've gotten better, can I ask you,
Yep.
do you have any awareness of like why you chosen to get a bit better? Like, what was appealing about that?
It became fun. So
Okay.
yeah, it became fun to know that I could create money, wealth, all of it, without the boring stuff of the stuff I need to educate myself on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's funny because what if that was I mean, not at the risk of everyone going to the banks and taking all their money out, but what's happening in the US at the moment, obviously there's people talking about it worldwide and going, okay. And so I love educating myself, because I heard in the US that the government is, bailing people out up to, that's the key word, up to 250,000. And my sense is, if you are willing to, I'm just going to turn my air conditioner on, it's very hot. If you are willing to listen, then you'll hear all those bits, right? So up to $250,000, they'll bail you out. And it's the same thing, apparently, the law in the in Australia as well. I mean, God, would it take forever? Sure. Is it going to happen? I am not so sure. But I have in one account over $250,000, my honor account. So I started looking at, okay, not to go and like to the bank and take all my money out and create, like Australia did before, like, and selling out of toilet paper during the pandemic, not that shit, but started going, okay, what else could I have my 10% account in? So I asked my assistant to give me a report, like, and look at the 6 months of gold prices and start looking at gold and going, okay, what if I put 100,000 or 200,000 in gold? And I've got a lot of gold already and silver. And it's so fun to open up your safe and you're like, it's there. It's like, you can touch it, you can play with it. And it's like old school, you feel like hundreds of years ago when you got a bag of gold or bag of silver coins or something like that. But to start stretching your level of awareness to be greater than what most people are willing to choose is what I get, what Right Riches is so much about as well. And you so hit the nail on the head. It's like, what would it take for it to be fun for you? And how many presumptive realities do you all have that it's not fun, based on the people around you? That lack and scarcity seem to be so friggin' appealing to people, so that you can be the same as everybody else and maintain looking normal, whereas knowing that you are so not normal and you don't fit in, and all of those presumptive realities. And then I'm going to say your need of reactive reality to maintain all of that, where you destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pun, pock, all nine shorts, boys, poveds, and beyond.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, which just gets rid of stuff. God, it's hot in here. And you're like going snowboarding this weekend, and I'm like, oh, humidity.
It's cold here, yes.
And that's the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, which you can find out more on theclearingstatement.com as well. But it just basically, it's like pressing the delete button so that you can find out what your point of view is. Like, where the hell are you with all of this? So, and I was looking at this this morning. I've got a whole bunch of stuff going on at the moment with some wealth in, like, some investments I have. And they're like, I guess, hitting the wall with this reality. Like, some lady wants to sue me for something and blah, 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 all this stuff. I've got it. I've made sure I've, dotted my I's and crossed all my T's, and I've done all the correct things, and I've done all of that. And I'm like, someone said, like, the people who I have to speak to in this reality said, she doesn't have a leg to stand on. She's just going to XYZ. But here's the piece I want to look at. This morning I was like, wow, how many people just choose to, quote unquote, get a job so they can work, I mean, I know it's not really Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, but it's like they can have this job, they get their paycheck, and then they go home. They cannot do everything that they would like to do in the world. Like, they still travel economy, nothing wrong with traveling economy. But if that's as far as you're reaching, that's what you create, right? And then you can bitch and moan about how you can't afford stuff and blah, blah, blah. And for me, the piece here is the generating money. You have to take some action. And it's like, what energies are you not willing to receive? And there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of like handling things. There's a lot of, having to make, I want to go like adult decisions. Sometimes you go, really? I'm the adult here?
You have to act. I think that's the thing I've come up against the most, is like, wait, I have to make this.
I'm the adult? Yeah.
Can I give it to my dad? Like, can he,
Oh, last night, my father passed away probably about 10 years ago. And I sat on the couch with some food by the end of the day and a glass of wine, because I was just like, oh my God, And I went, Dad, and I was like, can you help me? Because my dad was so supportive and amazing. And I just heard this, I am. And I went, I know you are helping me. Thank you so much. Right. But also what I've been functioning from is yes, no universe of like, okay, this, yes, no. And it's a great access consciousness tool. So not trying to control an outcome, not trying to go to conclusion, not functioning from that place of a need of a reactive reality, rather than going, okay, so I've been asking universe, show me what will create the greatest possibility.
Yeah.
And then going, okay, this, yes, no, this, yes, no, this, yes, no. Okay, this one's heavy. Let's not choose that. I need more information. Okay, this. And sort of like delving into the forest and going, okay, what next? Universe, show me what next. And you, for me, I think really right riches for you and that generating wealth is you got to trust yourself. You've got to be willing to receive all energies, which I know that is something I'm going to delve into in the class, because how many things do you not receive because you're so comfortable receiving judgment and receiving no money? That's an energy everyone knows, no money, got that, nailed that. What if you didn't nail that? What if you nailed being successful and having money and finding out what is through that forest,
Yeah.
And everything at that is times a godzillion. We destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, poets and beyonds, having awareness explosion over here.
But hey, that too. Like, how many people can you have in your life that give you that awareness explosion? Like that motivation and that inspiration. And I know that there's been lots of people I work with and access to that from their choices, I go, oh yeah. And it's like, I can have that too. Like Elugar, that's a favorite one of mine. Where at Elugar, and you can invest it, you can buy a casa, you can do all this like a house, etc. And we're riding our horses around Elugar, and there's a bunch of access people that have just been there for the first time. And David Kubis is talking about whose houses they are, like whose investments these are. We ride past, and he goes, "Oh, this one's Ryan T's." We ride a little bit further, and he goes, "This one's Ryan T's." And then he rides a bit further, and he goes, "This one's Ryan." And I went, no. I said, Ryan T's was back there. I said, you've actually named 3. And he went, yeah, he has 3 investments. And I went, I was literally riding my horse, and I went, you can do that? In my head, I was like, because I already had an investment. I was like, wow, you can have more than one investment. And it was such a cool energy. And then we got back that day, and I went, Dad, I think I want to invest more. And he looked at me and he went, so do I. And that started with Ryan T's choice, me choosing, and then David. And then we both wanted the same casa. So we were sitting in Gary's lounge room going, no, this. And then Gary went, I've got an idea. Why don't you do it together? And we looked at each other and went, that sounds like fun. So we literally have 2 investments together. We were like, yeah, that's fun. So we increased it by the inspiration that somebody else was.
Yeah, and that's that energy of play. It's like, I think for me, sometimes even growing up as a kid, like money was a serious thing and investments were serious. And so when I've been playing with like expanding my financial whatever. So I was like, I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to be an adult with money, and I'm going to invest in Amazon because I got a hot stock tip, that they like split or whatever. That didn't go anywhere. And I was like, wait a minute. If I were choosing for me what was fun for me, I would invest more in Elugar. So I bought Elugar bonds because I'm like, if I'm willing to invest this amount of money in Amazon, a company that I don't really care for, besides they're awesome at delivering packages like overnight, why not invest over here? It's like this playful thing. And if money was never a problem, but it was just like this, gold and riches that you can play with to create fun stuff, then what else would be possible?
And just a couple of tools, because if you're watching this live, etc., or I think I'm going to put this on my podcast as well, it's a couple of tools that you can look at is ask, like what Megan mentioned right at the beginning, will this be fun for me? Whenever I invest in anything, I'm willing to lose it. Like I've invested a lot in Elugar. I've got bonds, I've got, raffle tickets, I've got a private casa, I've got 3 investments, like a lot, and I'm actually willing to lose it all. But there's one thing to me, that's a no-brainer. That place is going to like just be booming. It's like I've worked with Access for over 20 years, and the amount of events we hold alone, let alone anyone else hiring it, and every time anyone goes there, they're like, oh my goodness. So, but ask, will it be fun for you? Because if it's fun for you and you wake up and you're like, oh, it's like, this is adding to my life. It literally does add to your life. Like every molecule of what you're investing in contributes to your life. And there's like, say for me, it's like I have a lot of real estate investment. And so, and yeah, there's definitely like hiccups that come along. But here's another thing. I looked at, well, how many people don't want to deal with this rather than expanding out of what can you do? So we have someone who we pay monthly to deal with the stuff, you know, oh, we need a plumber. Okay. So he organizes a plumber, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just hired him recently for this one house that's got some, you know, a few hiccups, and it's so much easier. So as you create wealth, you also need to have that, as Gary mentions here, that generosity of spirit to expand out, so that wealth also bleeds into everyone that is around you, you know, from, and not from like these just handouts, but it's like, it could be, but it's like this generosity of spirit of how you contribute to others, they're contributing to you. And it's just got this nonstop sort of contributory energy that you cannot control and isn't defined. And yet it's like this level of chaos that just keeps this explosion. And you've got to be willing to have that explosion. And this is what I've been looking at, is how many people who are not willing to have that right, which is for you, you're not willing to have that explosion because you're so controlling of the poverty and the scarcity.
Yeah. And yeah, the control is huge. You know, it's like, you know, we did a live on magic, which was amazing. And those tools also play in with this as well. In the Right Riches for You book, there's, if you even like the first chapter, it starts with asking you, what does money mean to you? And if you start like writing stuff out, you'll actually see where all these points of views are that you have that like lock you up, you know? The other one, other than like, what would be fun for me is, will this make me money or will this be rewarding? And I remember this was one of the first tools I got in Access, and it was so fun to be like, are you going to make me money? Are you going to make me money? And I was like playing the yes or no game. Right. And then it was years later that I found out that like, just by asking the question, it actually puts the molecules of that thing into making you money. Like,
yes.
It's not always just a yes or no. It's like, hey, if I'm by you, will you make me money?
Yes.
And then it has a job, you know? So it's like all these fucking tools that are so amazing. And then you like, it's the simplicity of asking a question and changing your point of view and playing with it and seeing how much you can create.
Hey, Wes, can you put up the URL too for the class that I've got coming up? So it's at Simone Milasas. Thank you. He's our back end boy. SimoneMilasas.com/right riches. I just want to look at this thing, and this goes into relationships as well, because this is the insanity that sometimes you function from, right? As you were saying that, because this is my first world problems. Okay. At the moment, I have 2 BMWs. Okay. Because I brought a new one.
You are really suffering. I
know.
You need to have an intervention. It's like.
But I bought a new one, and then I had the convertible, and I was like, I don't want to let go of the convertible. And then I'm also getting these plans drawn up so I can extend the garage so that I can have these 2 cars, right? And then I've got like, and then these different houses that I have, and then this you know, I just bought a warehouse, a commercial warehouse, which is commercial property, and different things, and how that's all interacting. And the other day I literally found myself going, this makes me laugh, going, I wish I was in a relationship so I had someone who could help make these decisions for me. And I went, what the hell? And I was like, what is that? And I was like literally, I wanted a man in my life to go, what should we do with the garage? Like, what should we do? Or should we sell the car or whatever? And I went, this is crazy. So I popped and potted all of that. And then I went, I actually have a amount of really cool people that I am in relationship with that can, you know, help me look at all of this. I mean, I even sent the plans of the stuff to Brendan, my ex, because I was like, he's good at that. And he was so willing to have a look, and he was like, okay, this, and this. So it's like, I had him, I had other people that I showed. And then I eventually went, okay, the second car, I went, what are you holding on to it for? And I was like, okay, I'm going to sell it. Like, I'll sell it, still extend the garage, but really that yes, no universe. It's like, because it's just a choice, but you've got to make those choices. And it's like, you may make a choice. Like, I've made some choices. I call them rookie mistakes. And I've made some big rookie mistakes. And even recently with this one house, I'm like, oof, rookie mistake, like making that. And the thing that I'm getting to and I'm learning is I trust people way too much than actually looking at where they truly function from. So that's what I'm gaining from this, gaining the awareness from this, but this is all to me part of Right Riches for you. It's like, what energies again are you not willing to receive?
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you is, so like, those of you out there listening to Simone and thinking that she's just always had all of these first world problems. It's like, as you know her story, most likely she hasn't. But in the book, there's a section where they talk about one of the things that you're unwilling to have is like, if you have this much money, that you'll have basically all these choices that you're talking about, like, where do I put my third car? And what am I going to, it's like, if you create wealth in this way that you're going to have these types of things to deal with, everyone's like, fuck it. It's easier to just like not even have a car, to have a garage or whatever.
But that's the insanity that I think people choose.
Yeah.
It's easier just to be in struggle street.
Yeah.
So how many of you have the presumptive reality it's easier to be living in struggle street because everybody else is doing it rather than in wealth bliss land? I'm just naming a place now. Yeah, it's a country. Wealth bliss land.
It's like our background. That's wealth bliss land.
Exactly. Wealth bliss land, where you get to make adult choices that can sometimes, navigate in a different way, change the whole trajectory of your life. But it's like, isn't life meant to be an adventure? And if you have a whole lot of money with it, it makes it way easier. So everything of that is times a godzillion. We just try and uncreate it.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pockle night, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. I was talking to someone today, and they're in a job. They've been there for like, I don't know, 10 years probably. And in the US, at least, really since COVID, they're like, we're not, basically you're lucky to still have your job. We're doing massive layoffs. So you're lucky to even have a job. We're not going to be promoting anyone anytime soon. There's not going to be any raises anytime soon. So it's like, work more, stay at the job because you might never get one again. And so I was talking to them about this, and I was like, that is so set up to keep you stuck, to keep you thinking that this is your only choice. And he was like, yeah, but I don't really care about the money. I just want to work less. Like, I don't want to have to work so much. And I'm like, the gift that you are to the company, you're never, ever going to like work less. They're always going to have more for you to do. What if you actually deserve the money too? Like when you make money not a thing, you're like, whatever, it's fine, I got it. But like, what if you actually deserve the money? What if you deserve to have 3 times the salary that you're currently making? And what if you could ask for it? And it doesn't mean that you have to work more to get it or change job. Like, what if you could simply be like, hey, I'd like this, and I'd like more money? Because like you said, it makes your life easier. And I think so many people out there just don't think they deserve it, or that they're bad for asking for it, or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. And are you willing to be in that? But are you willing to be in that quote unquote category that people seem to categorize people of having too much money?
Yeah.
Because, your brother actually, apparently, I heard the other day, he always thought that I had money. And I was like, no, I didn't. It's like,
Right.
Absolutely not. It's like I was hugely in debt and struggled to get an economy ticket. And then the other day I was talking to a guy that we both work with, and I was on the plane. I was like, WhatsApping. And I was like, oh, I'm super tired, like about to land in Australia. And he goes, yeah, not really feeling sorry for you. You're in first class Emirates, aren't you? And I was like, oh, you mean this? And took a photo. The big screen, the plenty of room, the door that you can shut on first class. And I went, yeah, but I'm still a bit tired. Like, it's like, but you know what? I know when I say that, I can perceive the energy of people going, wow, what an asshole, or what this, or whatever. And there's also others who are like, I'll have that. And can I tell you, if you function from that generosity spirit of I'll have that, you will create it. If you function from the judgment of it, you will resist it. So what if you start looking at different things? Like one of the things I used to do to practice, like even having the energy of money in my world, was I would watch documentaries on, things like, they have these, weird documentaries on planes where it's like, the kids get a little Porsche for their 8th birthday, and it's like, there was one I remember they had all these things made of gold, and some kid in China got this a bicycle made out of gold, like 18 karat gold or whatever it was, or 14 karat gold, so it doesn't crash. But all this, and I'm like, wow, it's so extreme. But what if you could invite that extreme into your life and actually start to choose it? And
Yeah.
with that, got to take some action as well. And that is so much what these guys talk about with the generating money. It's like not creating it, it's generating. What action can you take today? Even asking that today, what action can you take to have more money in your life?
And to the people that are judging, it's like, I mean, I remember when I think Dane like flew on a private jet for the first time or something, and and he said something, and I was like, I don't really need to fly on a private jet. Like it was like so beyond my world. You know what I mean? It was like I am like fascinated that I was able to create flying in business class, and that was like a huge thing for me. So private jet, I was like, I think, and then the next time I flew in business class, I was like, this is terrible.
There's people all around me. What is this?
Lines, like, everything would be so much better if I could just pull up and get in a plane and fly. And it's like, but notice where you shut it down, and it's like, I think there's like stages, like you kind of like, you get to this level and you get like, okay, this is cool, but you can't believe that you got there. It's like, what if you could literally just keep going for whatever is fun, whatever is fun for you.
And you've got to be in constant question. Okay. For me, I don't get there's this place where you go, oh, now I'm comfortable. Everything just shows up with ease and I just choose and everything's, like
Yeah.
I am continuously like blowing my own paradigm sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like recently in June, I'm super excited. I'm going to the Amalfi Coast for a week.
Cool.
I had this huge big villa. It's on the water. Like you can literally, it's got its own wharf. So you can hire a boat to come pick you up and go to Capri or go to one of the islands, whatever, do all of that. And then I looked at, okay, how do I get to Amalfi? And it was like, I looked at trains, I looked at flights, and I looked at all of that. And then I just last night ended up booking a private jet from Turin to Amalfi and then back to Milan and stuff. But it's not like I didn't book that with this absolute comfort zone. It's out of my comfort zone. But
That's
also
where
went,
you generate money, though. Like that is the energy when you hit that uncomfortable mode. And I mean, this is where you have to play with it. And Simone, you're basically the what's the word, like conspirator? Like I remember you paid me in Australian dollars for something, like Australian cash or something in some class. I'd been to Australia once, but not for an access class. And you're like, you paid me in Aussie cash. And you're like, I hope I see you in Australia sometime. I'm like, what? Australia? That's like a once a lifetime trip, And then I've booked a trip there, and that was the first time I flew business class. I was so uncomfortable for the money, for like everything, but it never, like, if you don't focus on, oh my God, how much money you spent, you just keep looking at how does it get any better than this, use all the tools and all the books out there that are there. My bank account grows when I do those big leaps of uncomfortable things, when I buy something, jewelry or whatever, like it grows. I don't know how. And that's, I think, the crazy thing is like, I couldn't tell you how. There's no logic. There's no science to say like, oh, these 3 choices is what created this amount of dollars. It doesn't make any sense. It just keeps growing somehow.
Well, that's one of the things that they do talk about in this book. So highly recommend getting it. Right Rich is for you. You can get on Audible in Megan's beautiful voice, or you can buy the book, old school. She'll read it to you. She can take Megan to bed, listen to her in bed, in the bath, in the car, whatever.
You got it. I'll be with
but
you.
That's one of the things that they do talk about here too, is that money is not linear, and it's not. Like if you're trying to work out the how, stop it. It's like, and I'm not saying go book a private jet. It's like choose something outside of your comfort zone and then see what shows up. And it's like, ask the universe, hey, universe, show me the money. Like literally, like, show me the money. It's like, yell it out, do whatever, cooking in the kitchen, glass of wine, show me the money. Do whatever you need to do in order to have money be more prevalent in your world. And to me, that is so much what Right Riches for You is about. Discover what it is for you. Not based on reference points of anybody else, not me, not Megan, not anybody else. What is it for you? What is it that you would like to have in your life? What is it that you would like to generate in your life? what action can you take today that moves you towards that? Maybe it's just stop bitching and moaning, you know? Maybe it's that.
I think you should judge people for how much money they have, you know? That would be like, I'll never fly in business class. That'll never happen to me.
Yeah. All right, goodbye.
Or say, I'm having that no matter what. Universe, show me how. Whatever it is for you. You know, it's like, yeah, what else is possible? And have a friend or two that you can call. Like Simone was harassing me just earlier in another thread because Gary Douglas has a class in Venice, and I was like trying to work it out because I'm like, I have Rome, like I don't really think I could fly. Like I was coming up with all these. Rewind. When that class came out,
I just asked one simple question.
Huh?
I said, I just asked you one simple question in this thread. I went, are you coming to Venice?
Yes, I know. But in my head, when the class came out, I'm like, I'm there. It's Venice. I'm there. And then tried to like do all the working it out. And so she asked one question. I was like, why have I come up with all these reasons why I can't go? Why have I not looked at what would it take to go? So what would it take?
Yeah.
What would it take?
And you don't even live in Australia, which is far away from everything except New Zealand.
So I think we could talk for hours because this topic is so fun. And I'm so glad that you're doing a class on it. This is one of many classes you have on money, but this has like this different energy, which, like you said at the beginning,
it does.
It
really has a different heartbeat. Yeah. And to be honest, I was like a little bit like, oh, what am I doing this for? I don't even know what this is. And I said to Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, and I went, I don't even know what to. And he said, yeah, you're trying to go to conclusion. He said, ask. And this was like about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And so I went, oh, okay, you're right. I am trying to go to conclusion. And it's like, how many of you try to go to conclusion before choosing something, you know? So I was like, okay, I'm choosing this. What is this? Right, Riches, show me. And I'm so looking forward to this class because, like I said, I haven't facilitated it. But when you ask and be in question, it's like the universe downloads you with different energy. You got to listen, receive it.
And Right Riches for you, like, you know, this book was written a long time ago and I just started reading it again. And it is amazing because it's everything that's in there applies to right now, like these uncertain times and uncertain financial times and stuff with the banks. And it's like, Gary Douglas is such a futurist. So it's like all these things that apply now. And I love that Right Riches for you has this new energy as well. So you've got classes going on. Shannon and David have classes going on. And the first ever certified facilitator training with the three of you is coming up in May as well. So
at the castle, live at our castle that we are all part owners of. I just realized that, Shannon, David, and myself.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's kind of like this is something that's like pinging you if you are, you know, looking for something different. That's part of the beginning of the book is a different point of view, like changing the way that you're looking at things. And so if you're looking to change the way you're looking at everything, go to Simone's class. That's what I have to say.
Thank you so much, Megan. And you have a wonderful weekend snowboarding in the cold, and I'll be here in the hot and humid.
I will.
What an amazing world we have. But thank you so much for being here, Megan. Mwah.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you in Venice.
Yes. See, you did it again.
Bye.
Bye.